All right. Woo! I am so excited to see you today, Shaz, because you are like the most amazing person I've ever met, or one of the most amazing person I've ever met. Like you're just like every time I see you, I'm like my brain just glows for like infinity. And so
Aw.
I'm so excited that you're here and whoever's watching this can also meet Shaz.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. I definitely feel like it takes one to know one. And every time I feel like we touch base and hear about what we're doing, you're always doing something incredible. You're always doing something amazing. You're so involved in all the communities constantly. It's just so impressive. So I'm really honored to be here. Excited to talk about all the things. Yeah, so I'm Shaz, aka Dr. Z. I am a teaching assistant professor and the STEAM outreach coordinator for the Atlas Institute, which is at CU Boulder. It's a creative tech research institute. I basically walk into 5 to 10 years in the future every single time I go into my building. I have a very warped idea of what reality is because I'm like, oh, well, aren't FNIRs like commonplace? And people are like, what's that? I'm like, right, okay, got it. Yeah, so we're always kind of you say we're really inventing the future and really trying to push technology and engineering to be socially minded, more beneficial, less harmful, more integrated with all different types of social applications, not just sort of the mainstream ones. Yeah, it's great place to work. I love it. Yeah, that's me.
Well, the institute sounds amazing. And when you started talking about like where you work, I'm like, this is like this place was made for you, or vice versa. Like,
Yeah, it's a playground. I discovered Atlas, I think like 2 years before I worked there. I applied for a position there. And I just became such a huge fan and just researched everybody and was constantly looking at paper and like what was coming out. Yeah, definitely fanned out. And then I was like, I just need to go and be a part of it.
wow.
Yeah.
And I say this, not just because you're my friend. I've known you for a while.
A while. It's been a minute. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're looking at like almost 20 years. It's
Whoa. Almost.
2008.
Yeah.
So no, we're almost there.
You're right. Whoa. Whoa. Okay.
17 years.
We're
Is that
aging
correct?
ourselves out
What
here.
is time? Hey, I got no problem with age. I'm very proud to be on this earth and alive and living, and so I got no problem with age at all.
Right, right. Yeah, no, no, I feel you. But wow,
It's fine. I'm an old head. I've long accepted that I'm an old head. It's fine.
well, I mean, okay, so almost 20 years. So I feel like I've seen you, not just go from a different city to a different city, different state, and go through all your like 10 million hobbies, but which we'll get into at some point. But I think like there's always been like a constant about you, which is like you are definitely a Renaissance person.
Oh,
I mean,
thanks.
you've tried everything, but not just that in terms of skills. I really feel like you always somehow pull all these different interests and skills that you have and um move forward with so much creativity, but also humanity. Like you are one of the kindest people I've ever met.
Oh,
Not just like on the interpersonal, but like you do think about the collective. Um, and so like knowing that you're there, like designing the future of technology, I feel like yeah, like put Shaz there. Like that's
yeah.
like we need more people like you.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm in good company at Atlas for sure, and thanks for that because it really is a lot of work. I have so many interests. They're all over the place, and then trying to find ways that they come together and align. So I'm not doing 8 different jobs, but I'm doing one job that brings together 8 different sectors. Is genuinely I've spent active energy and time trying to do that, so I appreciate it. It does not get recognized. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can have like a scrolling list, like rolling credits on the side of as a card. I mean, like boxing, kickball,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
uh, snowboarding, which actually you wrote about in this book that you also edited, and
yeah.
including author and book editor there. And gosh, I'm like,
Research, doing also, I mean, my research is so interdisciplinary. I started in computational neuroscience and now I'm in education, really. So I'm like really all over the place. And then, yeah, yeah, it's a long list. I have a company as well, Craniate, which I'm sure we'll get into. And, fire performer, singer, been in bands. Yeah. So all these disparate artists I've been drawing, doing, watercolors and ink and decent at acrylics, much happier with a pen. Yeah, so just a lot of different creative outlets and then trying to find, especially in these like very rigorous siloed spaces like academia, trying to figure out how to make all that work is hard, non-trivial.
yeah, and also just like aside from all the different disciplines that you have, I guess like gone across, like I mean, there's also like I know you're queer and non-binary, and I feel like you're just crossing all kinds of boundaries and borders and in always imaginable. And I'm just like, whoa, you must be exhausted or
Yes.
you're energized at the same time.
Yep. Definitely exhausted for sure. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot of boxes to check.
so I don't even know where to start because I can ask you about 10 million things, but I guess you mentioned Craniate, and so I think this is one of your uh semi-newer, I mean in the span of 20 years in my head, newer
Yeah.
ventures, right, as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So Craniate is a company here in Colorado where I'm based. And it's really in its not vestigial, but fetal stages. I'm still culminating and creating what it's going to be. But it's all about education for everybody. Informal STEM education in particular, or rather informal STEAM education, because art is so critical to learning any of the so-called hard subjects. So this has been about 5 years, and it started off with an idea for a comic that I had in a shower while I was in grad school, and I called up my old roommate who is an incredible comic book artist, and I said, "I think I have a really good idea. Do you want to go in on this comic book with me?" And they were like, "Yes, absolutely. Yesterday, let's go. Let's start." And so we've just been following that, and it's really taken any creative venture, any creative process, you kind of just let the creative process dictate somewhat what that outcome is going to be. And so I had this vision of making a subscription box company. That's not a viable business model. And so we're pivoting, and we really just, the comic has been the center of it, where we want to use a comic to teach about neuroscience. And so a big part of it is just hearing over and over, oh, you study neuroscience. That I hear one of two things. That means you're so smart, or I can't talk to you, or I'll never understand what you're studying. And I just go, how do astrophysicists get people to jump on board with astrophysics? But neuroscientists can't do the same thing. It is not any more complicated. So it really comes down to how are we telling the story? And I want to change that. And so this comic is a way of teaching neuroscience and all its related fields. So everything from physics to biomechanics to chemistry, electrical engineering is a part of there as well. And so you're following some kids who get superpowers. Superpowers are a way to talk about neuroscience, what changes are happening in their brain. But then I kind of lost my damn mind and I was like, let's not just make it about superpowers. Let's make it as scientifically tractable as we possibly can. So we have been interviewing engineers, scientists, linguists, all sorts of different people to really make the universe that this comic is in as scientifically accurate as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And then it's also sci-fi, so we really want to blend this line between what is accurate and what is imagined to the point where we hopefully motivate children to go, oh, I want to know if that's real. And, every third thing that they look up isn't real, but everything else is. So really starting to reimagine what the future can be. I think, the 50s and 60s, we had all these beautiful illustrations and ideas of like what the future would be. The Jetsons was all about what the future would be, but we don't have that now. We're really just framed in all of this doom and disaster, which is important, but not the full picture. And I often ask a lot of, especially young scientists, what happens if we solve the climate crisis? Then what do you do? And they don't even have the thought, right? And so I wanted to really to create this culture of not, we're going to teach you about neuroscience. We're also going to frame the future for you in this positive way. What can we have if we get our cookies together, Yeah, so it's been fun. It's been great. I've had, working with students, grad students, undergrads, working with artists, and just really collectively imagining with a bunch of excellent, excellent creatives has just been the joy of my life. Most recently, we've started to think about other products that could come out of the company. And I have recently taken my nephew in, and he's 9. And I was already looking at the world of technology for children. And then I was thrown directly into the world of technology for children. And I go, oh, yeah, it's way worse than I thought, which was already pretty bad. And now we're kind of playing with this idea of creating tangible tech hardware that's specifically designed for children, for their developing motor systems, for their developing visual systems, for their developing audio systems. None of this really comes fully online until they're about 13 years old, but they're holding tablets that are meant for adult hands. They are looking at screens that are meant for adult eyes. They are watching content that is distributed through adult designed websites and platforms. And what happens when we start to think about what their nervous systems and their bodies actually need and then design for it? And so now we're looking at instead of beating them, which we've been trying to do, just avoiding all of tech and screens by having comics and things, we're now just going, all right, well, if we have to do screens, let's do it our way, right? Like, what does a screen for kids look like, right? So that's where we're at now. That's Craniate, the whole bread and butter. I love it, and hopefully it's going to be generating income by 2026. So
I mean,
really
it's
hustling.
close. We're already halfway through the year, right?
Yep.
Vacation stay around the corner.
Yeah, yeah.
Seven. Um, but yeah, no, wow. I don't even know where to start because you just like dropped a lot of things there.
But
Like a lot. And so I'm actually fascinated by, like making sure that this is as accurate as possible in a neuroscience, in a scientific way.
yeah.
Uh, and then you mentioned the sci-fi. And then also the fact that a lot of sci-fi is dystopian, right? So really that made me think about, oh, this is kind of like speculative fiction as well, right? Like Afrofuturism, things like
Yep.
that. And so I was just um I was just wondering like if you have any inspiration, where do you draw inspiration to do this work?
Yeah. Gosh. I mean, I think it really comes from the young minds that I get to meet, the little kiddos, and seeing how they see the world and what they understand of it, which is a great deal. Holy cow, have you talked to Gen Alpha? They're like tiny 50-year-olds because they just are have access to data, have access to information like constantly, and they're little sponges. So it's just like they're so good at understanding so much. It's just mind blowing. And to hear, I'm always asking them, what do you think is going to happen in the future? What do you think science and technology and engineering are going to produce in the future. And we still, there's, it's kind of cool because there's things that have just been like a mainstay, and jetpacks and flying cars are definitely among them. But it's also, you know, they really have this great way of seeing an ease of life, right? Like they kind of take that childish or childlike way of looking at the world and just like extrapolate it. Like, you know, I'm not going to have any responsibilities because it's all going to be automated. And I'm like, yeah, you know, is that maybe that is what we're trying to do with technology? We're trying to like recapture that childhood. Like, I'm just going to go home and like sit on the couch and watch TV and do nothing because everything else is taken care of for me, and this is my responsibility. So that's like a really big draw. And then just seeing the incredible work that so many people are doing, I just feel like for as much doomerism that's out there, there's at least two, three times as many people that are giving their whole entire selves to mitigating or stopping that fallout. Like, I mean, it's every single field, it's every single aspect. There's not any one thing. It's not medicine that's outside of it. It's not art that's outside of it. It's not you know, any kind of engineering. Any kind of engineering that's out. Like it's all toward this one goal. And I just can't see how that much of a heartfelt and passionate effort is going to fail. Even as we're at 1.5C, right? Like even though we're here in the climate crisis, I still just go, there's just so many good brains. They're doing so much good work. Their whole life is dedicated to like stopping some aspect of some problem that is related to climate change, capitalism, you name it, you know. So that's really where I get inspiration to be hopeful. It's also important, you know, as a practice. I think a lot of people expect hope to come to them, but you really have to like cultivate your own hope, cultivate your own joy. And so it really is a practice of, okay, I'm going to take a good hard look at what is real and what is serious and what is detrimental right now, and I'm going to see in thinking about how I am contributing and looking around how other people are contributing, I can develop a hope that we're going to come through it in some way.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that's I thank you for sharing that because even I have to hear that, and I'm sure a lot of people would benefit from hearing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like right now. I mean, you were talking about the climate crisis, but obviously there's that and this outside of yourself, right? And then I'm sure there's also like the within yourself or within like the reach of your social spheres. You know, and you mentioned like, okay, you're with like family members and like making sure those relationships are like, um, you know, I guess watered. Think about
Yeah.
plants.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that is also a plant person. Insert there. But also, I mean, in terms of like, um, in this time when there's a lot of animosity,
Mm.
not just like interpersonal animosity, but like systemic animosity towards, you know, trans, non-binary, and you know, other queer people, and really like immigrants. I mean, XYZ, A to Z, really. So I guess in your case, like what what gives you hope, or how do you cultivate this joy? Like what do you do?
Yeah. Um, Part of it is so at least in the context of Craniate and our comic, the comic takes place around 2011. And even just writing that, right? We're about 10, a little over 10, 14 years behind. Just looking at how, you know, we really have to think about, okay, what language did they use? We have a character who's trans. How would they, you know, come out and express? What are they going to face? And we're just talking about 14 years. Easy memories for me, right?
Yeah.
And it's so amazing how far we've come that I think if you were to look in a sort of myopic way at the setbacks that we're facing right now, not to say that they're not real, not to say that they're not grave. I mean, they're grave. it is not what it was. And I think we are born of, if not ourselves, survivors of what it was, of being, of the worser than, of I'm so glad it's not like how it used to be. Living examples of surviving that. And so, how do you look at what we're dealing with now, knowing that it's not as bad as what it was, and go, "Ugh, we're not going to make it? It, they're here. You could go talk to your elders, go talk to your living ancestors, and then see, come back and go, oh yeah, no, I am the living lineage. My family, my ancestors have survived chattel slavery, right? And now I'm supposed to go forward and think I'm not going to be able to make it because constitutional rights are being threatened. Not successfully rolled back, but threatened. That doesn't, who am I doing a disservice to if I believe that? It's not, sure, my peers, my students, things like that, but really my ancestors. And I'm not going to sit here for a day and go, they survived going across the ocean, they survived being separated from family, they survived being separated from land, from culture, from religion, and I'm here. How am I can't live. you know I know I got that fighter in me because I'm here, standing, breathing, right? And so that's really, I guess I have this sort of embedded, almost genetic, like positivity.
You're a lover and a fighter. I know people are like, "Are you a lover or a fighter?" You are like both, and then people are like,
Yeah,
"I'm
we're
no,
going
like
with
no, you're
those.
not." Like no, Shaz is for sure both because you love so profoundly, and then you also fight like fiercely.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah. I had something come up. I don't know if I could say it. I had a I had a personal dig come toward me, and it was the first time in a long time where I'm like, "Excuse me, what? I'm sorry, who said this? What? Can I come say it to my face?" like, and just like it was a nice reminder that that is there, that if I get pushed to that point, that it's like, oh no, 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 I got allies and we come in. so uh yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's hard to fight at a PWI. It's hard to fight in the dominant culture space, period, right? It's hard to even push, to be a person who's saying I'm not abiding by this, really by any means. I'm trying to tear it down. It's hard to find the way to make that voice heard without being immediately threatened.
yeah,
So it is certainly, I think, as I age, I feel like the fight becomes my breath, right? It becomes this sort of everyday, I wake up and I'm like, I know what students are gonna say, I know what colleagues are gonna say, I know what superiors are gonna say, and I know what I'm gonna say. Most importantly, let's go, let's do it. But yeah, yeah, thanks for that compliment. I really appreciate it. And I just overall, I just appreciate the things that you notice, because I feel like they are the things that don't get credit and get overlooked, by myself included. So yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm just a mirror, okay? Mirror in the house, like, um, yeah. No, I appreciate you like all the time. You're like one of my favorite people forever, infinity, this life and the previous and the next. So, um, but something you said about like the fight is your breath. Um, that sounds like so tangible and I mean concrete because it's really what you can control. It's well, so if unless you have asthma, I mean, you can also kind of control that, but in terms of like that's within your um I guess within your physical control in a way. And I know that you are like definitely an athlete as well. And singer, everything we I mean we mentioned it all before. but you are definitely a fighter because you're also an athlete
Hmm.
when you were boxing and also with snowboarding. And I feel like those are different kinds of fights, right?
Yes.
Like when you go to not just work, but really any space where like you have to be there for a sustained amount of time. It's like a long-term fight you're doing.
Mhm.
Like that acute, I don't know if I'm using the right word here, the acute like moment of fighting,
Yeah.
like literally to save your life so you won't go over the cliff
Yeah.
and like the wrong way. Um
Yeah.
and and like how do you even like make those decisions that are like it's literally a split second and your life could change.
Man, well, I gotta say, I don't know if I made the right decision every single time. I feel like I am able to keep responding to whatever outcomes from whatever decisions that I make. Um, and I guess there's sort of like there's like the martial art, right, which is like the practice, the discipline, the philosophy, the rules that you follow, and then there's the fight, right? And so that long-term marathon, that's your martial art, right? Like you're figuring out what is my stance, what are the ways that, like, how do I practice striking and blocking, right? And then you have the fight where it's like all of that kind of goes out the window and you just trust that you've trained or retrained your instincts enough to always be ready, to always be responsive, and to always be looking in the right place for where a threat or damage can come, right? There's so much in boxing that applies to my everyday life. There's so much. I don't think there's a day that goes by that I'm not thinking about boxing or Jeet Kune Do. I was trained in Jeet Kune Do philosophy, so yes, boxer, but really martial artist. And a big part, so there's like these kind of central things, which is like always stay at your center. Your center is where you are most ready. It's not where you're most relaxed. And so in like if you're thinking about like a fight stance, right, you can move left, right, front, back as easily as possible, and that's a center, right? You're not it's not easier to move back, it's not easier to move forward. It's everything is evenly balanced. You're not more defensive, you're not more offensive, you're balanced in between the two. And when you think about that balance and you have like years of training where you're just in that balance, you become really good at detecting what throws you out of your balance. You could win an award and that throws you out of your balance, right? Like you're on this like euphoric high, oh, I did it, and you're not paying attention to a deadline that passes, right? Like the things like that. Or the way that most people think of is somebody, something might happen, you might lose something, something might be threatened, someone might come to take something away from you, however that looks. And now you have to think about, well, how do I respond, how do I, and I'm saying respond and not react, right? How do I respond? Right? And so those really do, in an abstracted sort of way, they really do come into play every single day. Certainly when I'm in front of a classroom, for sure. It's just like fighting, which sounds combative, but it's not all fights are combative, right? Fights are tests of skill. You try to see who is better skilled, right? In a healthy fight, in a healthy match, especially in martial arts. It's not who I'm gonna beat you down. I'm gonna stand over you. It's not like that. It's seeing we are matched, and let's see who comes out slightly ahead of the other. Is the more realistic likely outcome. And so you start to also ask, who is an opponent, or what makes an opponent? What is a worthy opponent? What is worth my fight? What is worth my energy? And oh God, I hear my coach. I hear his voice when he says the best fighters know when to fight, and I'm like, it's so most of the time when you become an excellent, superlative, extremely skilled fighter, you don't fight that much. You can always tell watching. Oh man, watch a novice amateur boxing match. Watch, and all these fighters do is just they're just constantly throwing, throwing, throwing. And you watch a very skilled, very experienced fighter, and it's a lot of moving around and watching and observing and not really, because every single fight, every single punch, every single aggression that you put out, you are giving information about yourself. And
Mm.
so you want to absorb as much as you can before you give anything out, right? And so yeah, I feel like I'm just sort of rambling, but yeah, that's really how it kind of it works in this abstract way where you think about who is my opponent? Do I need to fight this person? The fight is not to demonstrate dominance, it's to demonstrate skill, and possibly establish respect if that's necessary, but respect and not fear. And really making sure you are responding, right? Which requires you to be balanced within yourself, so that when things come at you, or if somebody's coming at you physically in the case of a fight, that you know the most optimal ways to move so that you can regain your center, right? Every step you're out of your center so you can come back into your center. Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
And actually, it makes me think about the stuff that you talked about earlier as you're like building your company and thinking about how to optimize the products you're thinking about designing, or pivoting. Like you said, you started off as a subscription service and now you're pivoting based off the information that you're gathering.
Mhm.
So I feel like you're using science or scientific thinking in like all aspects of like what you're doing, really, whether that's boxing or creating your company. And
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Thank
um I guess we need to wrap up. uh,
you.
but like I said, you are wrapping, also this episode is wrapping up June Pride Month.
You.
I know we haven't like talked about that as much, but I guess in terms of like in the spirit of cultivating joy, like
Yeah.
what are you proud of, um as you know a queer person or a non-binary person, or however you identify yourself at this moment.
Gosh. Ooh. Man. I will say I think there's kind of two things that jump out. I'm proud of these children's, man. I love Gen Z. I love Gen Z. I love Gen Z. I love Gen Z. Don't let anybody talk any smack about Gen Z. My gosh, their hearts are so beautiful. I love Gen Alpha. I'm just so proud, especially in queer spaces, especially to see the level of acceptance, the level of understanding, the level of expression that is there every time. I'm so blessed. I'm so happy and honored that I get to like work with and help mold or direct, I don't even want to say mold, but direct these minds toward where they want to go. It's just amazing. I'm just so yes. Yes. And then on a very personal level, I'm very proud of my body. And I say that because I'm about to turn 40. And my body has been through it. I've been an athlete. I have a hobby of liking to throw this body off of large cliffs. So I'm very proud of my body to be standing here after all of the bumps and bruises and wrecks that I put it through. And then also in queer space of showing the world what a non-binary body looks like. I think that's such a huge one. I feel like there's so much pressure and so few diverse narratives, especially in trans space, about honoring your body as a representative of your identity. And I have the great fortune of not having physical dysphoria. I have a lot of social dysphoria. And so I'm just very proud to like move through this world as an example, to stand in front of classrooms as an example, to stand in front of lecture halls, when I'm giving seminars and things, as an example of what a non-binary body looks like, what a non-binary voice sounds like. and just helping people know a little bit more. And I don't just mean, the mainstream, the straights, the cis people. I mean everybody, to really show, it doesn't, there's no formula. It's what we make of it. And so I'm proud of that.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I'm proud of you. I don't know if I'm even in what's the word? Like, if I need to be proud of you, if that
Yeah,
speaking
I
about
would
like
take it to be
how
having
you
you proud of me
feel.
is everything. I mean, I
I mean,
respect you so much.
when I
Don't
say that, I don't
downplay
mean
yourself,
you
y'all.
shouldn't anyway.
Mello is amazing, incredible, brilliant. Like all of this comes, like I really appreciate your humility, but my goodness, it is such a gift and an honor to receive such praise from you. It means so much. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for spending time.
I love you.
Oh, love you too. Squish.
Oh, is that the new? I know that
That's
this.
how I've always done it. It's kind of backwards. I guess this makes more sense, huh?
I mean, this is like the old way.
Yeah.
I know that.
The only reason I know how to do this, by the way, is because East Side.
Okay, it's easier.
All him.
Oh man, Jersey comes out.
A little bit, a little bit, a
Yeah,
little bit.
hey, no matter how west you go, like,
Hey, you can't take the Jersey out the person. It
yeah,
is
the Jersey, the
as
East Coast is the same.
as in us as the stank water that we drink.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, well, this is really it. And like I said, happy Pride, happy birthday-ish kind of month. And yeah, you're the
Yeah,
best. So that's all I gotta say.
you the best. Takes one to know one.
Okay, I see you. Okay. Bye. Thanks.